would you say that there is anything different about this particular virus? Like, do you personally know anyone who's been affected by it?
No, I don't, not personally. And
Mm.
what I found, because I've been poring over for a while, I poured over a lot of the statistics and the numbers that they were sending out. Now it's kind of a waste of time because the numbers
Yeah.
are so compromised and they're just made. I mean, things are just at this point being made up, and they keep saying, you know, there's, I mean, this particular thing we're experiencing now is so much more about the propaganda and the fear tactics, and there's some agenda going on, you know, and I don't like to get into like a conspiracy theory approach, but I'm just looking at the numbers objectively and I'm saying, okay, 50,000 people based on their numbers. If you look up the old, you know, that number of top 10 reasons people die in the world, you know, on a yearly basis or daily basis. There was, I think the most recent study that a lot of people cite is from like 2017. And I did a video on this, but around 50,000 people a day die of cardiovascular disease, you know, heart disease. 25,000 people a day of cancer. You know, up to, you know, 10 to 12,000 people a day of, and I've combined a couple, to some reason they separate respiratory disease from respiratory infection, which makes absolutely no sense to me. So I combine those numbers together.
Yes.
But essentially what's happening is we have, so on a daily basis in the world, from the old numbers, you would have maybe 12,000 people. If you want to be conservative, okay, 10,000 people a day dying of respiratory infections and diseases. So now the numbers that they're not showing us is, well, let's compare what the numbers of the people this year that they're saying is dying of that versus in the past. And when I try to compare these numbers, I'm like, well, the numbers that they're even projecting for people dying of this particular thing, it's not that much more, and sometimes not even more than what the people that they would normally say were dying of respiratory infections and respiratory diseases. And so the longer that this went on, because I waited a minute, you know, in the beginning when this started, I wasn't going to just jump to conclusions. You know, I had friends that just said, no, this is all nonsense, you know. But I was like, let's crunch the numbers. Let's just see. You know, we're from the beginning. We weren't scared of it. It's not a you know, in that sense. But as an elimination trigger, let's see. You know, let's see what it does. But yeah, as these numbers go, and once you see the overreaction that governments had all around the world to force people to stay in their homes, you know, to lose their jobs where business can't function, and you know, it's like, wait, this was really, really ridiculous. And as I normally say, you know, I've over the years I've always avoided.
Excuse me, now we're back on.
Okay. So yeah, so something very strange is going on right now in terms of, you know, government overreach. I generally always have avoided trying to throw around words like communism and invoking the historical kind of idea, you know, of totalitarianism and that, all that kind of thing. But this is a case where now, you know, the people that normally talk about that are quiet. They're going along with this because that's what's been most frustrating. It's not necessarily that the government, because the governments they're gonna try to take as much power as you let them take. But yes, the lack of resistance, the lack of outrage by the people, and the people being so scared that they just turn over and say, okay, well, I guess it has to be like this. It's like, no, absolutely not. It doesn't have to be like this. But without resistance, they will continue to take more and more freedom away. And and you'll never get it back, as we saw in the United States after 2000, after 9/11 in 2001. There's a lot of freedom that was taken from the populace, and it was never given back. And so now, they're doing he called them pandemic drones. So we're starting to be surveilled with drones that can pick up your body temperature and can tell if you're coughing, if you're too close to somebody else. I mean, we're really getting into these, people always throw around the Orwellian, the 1984 and Brave New World and, Hunger Games and all this kind of stuff. But this really is what a transition toward that looks like.
Yes,
and
yes.
Without any resistance, then it can really go right off into that. So so that's my concern. I'm not scared. I'm not scared of the virus at all. But my concern is the lack of resistance that people are showing to this straight overreach, and it's based on this fear, because for us nothing changed in the sense of, I'm always concerned. No, I know the frailty of my elders and family members. I'm no more concerned now than I was before all of this, because I know that they can, again, have an elimination trigger. Might be from some cold air. You can have an elimination trigger just going outside in the cold. You don't have to have some microbe go into your body.
Yeah.
And so I'm concerned for the elders anyway that aren't on this path of cleaning themselves up and haven't been for years, and so they're susceptible anyway. But so just to put that out, because sometimes people say, "Oh, you're not worried," but it's like, man, we've always kept this same energy, and the kind of, and people would make fun of us or sort of criticize us for being too critical, for worrying about what we eat too much, and you only live once, and we're not having any fun. And these are the same people that today are running around out here trying to, stay 10 feet away from everybody, got their mask on, and are living in fear. So where's your have fun lifestyle now? Because if you would be as concerned about the foundation of human illness, which is the eating of pus and mucus forming foods, that's what this thing is all about. And so if people were to have, if they were to have that kind of reaction, like they go into a supermarket, and because that's how I feel. If I go into a supermarket, when I walk through the dairy section with all that stanky cheese, meat section, or the fish or something like that, I might put on a face mask because it's disgusting. It smells terrible. So if we had that kind of consciousness to understand that if we should have that kind of natural fear response, where, because if when you say a natural fear response, if you're on top of a building and you look over, most people, it's not that you're necessarily afraid of heights. There's just a natural sort of like caution, like, okay, I respect that I'm up here, and if I fall off, I won't live. It's that kind of cautious respect. And that should be there for the pus and mucus forming foods, especially the pus forming foods. So that kind of, so that's something that's not, and that's one of the most bizarre things for us to see is somebody will be, walking around with this face mask and trying to stay away, but then they got all kinds of beef and milk and ice cream in their cart, not one fruit or vegetable. It's like what are you? So but that's where the consciousness is. It's just so irrational and so skewed.
People not making the connection of cause and effect, kind of like that. What you put in also comes out, right?